Let's be honest, nothing boosts confidence quite like great hair, but if you're seeing more strands in the shower, your confidence might not be at its highest, and that's why you need Hers Hair. Hers Hair treatments are made with doctor-trusted prescription ingredients that many other hair products out there don't have. They come in a variety of options, including oral and topical solutions, so you can find the one that works for you. Getting started is simple with a quick online hair quiz. Just answer some questions and you will be connected with a provider to discuss your personalized treatment plan. Through Hers, everything is 100% online, so no pharmacy trips, doctor office visits, or insurance required. And plus, treatments start at just $35 a month. The best part? You can get thicker, fuller, healthier hair and start seeing regrowth in as little as 3 to 6 months. Start your initial free online visit today at forhers.com/KKC. That's forhers.com/KKC for your personalized hair loss treatment options. forhers.com/KKC. Individual results may vary. Compounded products are not FDA approved or verified for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. See website for full details, restrictions, and important safety information. Vacation season is nearly upon us. I know I'm going away soon, and I'm going to be treating myself to the luxe upgrades that I deserve with Quince's high-quality travel essentials and at fair prices. Like lightweight European linen styles from $30, washable silk tops and comfy lounge sets, with premium luggage options and stylish tote bags to carry it all. And the best part, all Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. Because by partnering directly with top factories, Quince cuts the cost of the middleman and then passes the savings on to us. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. And I love that. My favorite right now, get the organic gauze shirt. My favorite is the Bayside stripe. Get it in that one. You're going to love it. For your next trip, treat yourself to the luxe upgrades that you deserve from Quince. Go to quince.com/KKC for 365-day returns plus free shipping on your order. That's QUINCE.com/KKC to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/KKC. Welcome back for another episode of Reality Life with Kate Casey. My guest today is Elizabeth Smart. She gained national attention at age 14. On June 15th, 2002, Elizabeth was kidnapped from her home in the Federal Heights neighborhood of Salt Lake City, Utah, by a man named Brian David Mitchell. Jolted awake in the early morning hours by a knife pressed to her throat, a voice ordered her out of the bed. Her younger sister, Mary Catherine, was also awakened, but remained motionless until rushing to her parents a few hours later. Elizabeth, who was just days away from graduating from middle school, was forced on a grueling hike up the foothills behind her home until they reached a campsite where her feet were washed and they were married in a ceremony by his wife, a woman named Wanda Barzee. She was chained to a tree and was repeatedly raped, starved, and forced to drink alcohol and view pornography. The day after the kidnapping, the Smarts held a press conference pleading for whoever took their daughter to return her home safely. Soon after, 2,000 volunteers swept the area around the Smart home, using dogs and aircraft to aid in the search, but they uncovered nothing. As months passed, the police investigation uncovered hundreds of potential suspects, eventually focusing on a 26-year-old drifter named Brett Michael Edmonds. Suspicion intensified on Edmonds until he was discovered in a West Virginia hospital after suffering an overdose. Primary suspicion then turned to a handyman previously hired by the Smarts, Richard Reese, who was in police custody for other reasons. Reese, on parole for the attempted murder of a police officer, was charged with felony burglary charges in the neighborhood of the Smart home. Despite pressure to confess from local police, Reese refused until dying in a jail of a brain hemorrhage, and all leads died with him. The Smart family refused to let the lack of development silence media coverage, so they started a website to serve as a resource for the investigation and provided media with home videos of Elizabeth as a child and as a teenager. And then in October of 2002, Mary Catherine suddenly remembered where she had heard the kidnapper's voice. "I think I know who it is," she said. Emmanuel. Emmanuel, God is with us in Hebrew, had done a single day's paid yard work for the Smarts, as well as spread word throughout the Salt Lake homeless population that the family was interested in hiring for odd jobs. When Mary Catherine told police, she suddenly and without apparent cause remembered the kidnapper's voice as that of the man she had briefly met more than a year before. Police did not believe her, so the Smart family publicly accused police of not following up on the lead. They then hired a sketch artist to draw Emmanuel's face according to their memories and distributed the drawing to all interested media with the help of America's Most Wanted host, John Walsh. Emmanuel's family recognized the drawing and reported the man's actual name, Brian David Mitchell. Elizabeth accompanied both Brian David Mitchell and Wanda Barzee in public on numerous occasions, but her presence was either obscured or unnoticed via various methods of concealment, which often consisted of wearing a headscarf and a face veil. In August of 2002, around 2 months after her kidnapping, Brian David Mitchell devised a plan to leave Salt Lake City with Wanda and Elizabeth, possibly to Boston or New York City. So to research potential places to relocate, they visited the Salt Lake City Public Library with Elizabeth, and there they were noticed by a library patron due to their unusual style of dress. Each wore full-length robes with veils, which concealed most of their faces. The patron was convinced to call police after looking closely at Elizabeth's eyes. A police detective arrived at the library and confronted them. However, he was deterred by Brian David Mitchell, who claimed that Elizabeth was just his daughter, a girl named Augustine, and they were unable to remove their veils or garb on religious grounds. When questioned by the detective, neither Wanda or Elizabeth spoke, and Brian stated that their religion prohibited women from speaking in public. Elizabeth would later say that Wanda signaled to her not to move and gripped her legs under the table. And she later recalled the incident feeling like hope was walking out the door. I was mad at myself that I didn't say anything, mad at myself for not taking the chance. So close, I felt terrible that the detective hadn't pushed harder. He had just walked away. Elizabeth also visited grocery stores and a restaurant, but went unnoticed. And then in the fall, she attended a party with Brian David Mitchell and Wanda, and was photographed wearing a veil and a robe with Brian and another party guest. So on March 12th of 2003, 9 months after the abduction, that alert citizen in Sandy, Utah, noticed the three of them and had learned about the kidnapping on television, spotted them, and contacted police. And when officers approached the trio for questioning, they discovered that Brian David Mitchell, Wanda Barzee were both in disguises, and Elizabeth in a white robe and veil. She initially told police her name was Augustine and said that she could not remove her sunglasses because of a recent eye surgery. Brian David Mitchell and Wanda Barzee had been actively involved in the LDS Church. Eventually, he began going by the name Emmanuel, claiming to be a prophet of God who experienced visions. And for this, he was excommunicated from the church. Wanda began going by the name Hephzibah, and the two would panhandle and preach in downtown Salt Lake City. He had presented himself in an image that was akin to the image of Jesus, dressing in those robes and tunics and growing a beard. And when they were arrested, initial psychological assessments announced that he was delusional and not competent to stand trial, and that the ruling was then superseded by the court. But when the trial began, and he acted out demonstrably in court, shouting religious condemnation, scripture, and hymns, the judge ruled the behavior suggested psychosis, and he was placed in the care of Utah State Hospital for pathological paranoia. But in February of 2006, a bill passed in Utah legislature allowed for forcible medication of defendants to ensure competency to face trial. So that June, a judge approved forcible medication of Wanda Barzee so she could stand trial. A similar motion regarding Brian David Mitchell proved highly controversial. Eventually reaching federal court in October of 2008, an intense debate raged as to whether he would genuinely be delusional or merely highly manipulative, with expert witnesses testifying to both perspectives. He was finally declared competent to stand trial years before negotiations and a plea deal had reached an impasse primarily on one point. Brian David Mitchell's defense demanded that Elizabeth Smart not testify in court. But 8 years after taking her out of the window in view of her sister, he stood trial for the crime, and that trial lasted more than 4 weeks. Elizabeth's testimony sealed her abductor's conviction, and he was sentenced to 2 life sentences in federal prison. Since her abduction and rescue, Elizabeth Smart has become an advocate for missing persons and victims of sexual assault. Wanda Barzee was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison in 2010 for her role in the kidnapping and abduction, although she was granted early release in September of 2018 for previously unaccredited time served. Again, Elizabeth graduated from Brigham Young University and became that activist and speaker on behalf of kidnapping survivors and child victims of violence and sexual abuse, and in 2011 launched the Elizabeth Smart Foundation, which aims to empower children and provide resources and trauma support for victims and families. She is married and the mother of 3 children. This week we met, a true gift, as I have always listed her as one of the guests I would most like to interview. Elizabeth Smart is a beacon of resiliency. Here is my interview with Elizabeth. So it's lovely to meet you.
Thank you. So nice to meet you. I'm happy I could make your bucket list.
If you were to describe yourself as a little girl, how would you describe yourself? The things that you were into and your personality?
I think I was quite an obedient child.
Mm-hmm.
I was the oldest girl of 6, or I was second out of 6. I was the oldest girl. I had 4 brothers and a sister, and I think I grew up playing the harp. And so that took up a lot of time. I didn't always love it. What child does always love to practice? But having 4 brothers, I also always wanted to prove that I was just as strong as them or just as tough as them. We had a cabin up in the mountains not that far away, and the cabin, it wasn't connected to city water. It was on well water, and sometimes the well would need to be clean. And one time my dad was trying to convince my brothers to go down into the well to help clean it out, and they wouldn't go down there. So I said I would, because I was like, I'm tougher than they are. So I went down in there and I helped clean it out. And then I think after a little while, my brothers were like, okay, we'll go down. We can't let our sister outdo us. So I definitely wanted to
Prove yourself
that I was tough.
Yeah.
And I remember just through our church, there was a program for the young boys, the young men, and then there was a program for the young women's. And I always remember thinking, this is so unfair. They're doing overnight, campouts and how do you survive in a snowstorm kind of stuff. And I'm stuck here learning how to sew on a button.
Well, that's
this
weird.
Is stupid.
Yes. So when we become aware of your story, you have just had graduated 8th grade?
I was just about to.
Wow. So, with our own kids now, we try to imagine ourselves now at that age. So when the story begins, as far as the rest of the world knowing, you had gone to sleep one evening and you shared a room with your sister?
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't just share a room, we shared a bed.
Wow.
And, it was days before the end of the school year. It ended, I think, the end of that week. And I remember my little sister, she's about 4.5, 5 years younger than I am. And I remember I was reading a book to her, and she kept on being one more chapter, one more chapter, one more chapter. And I feel by the time I finally put it down, it was pretty late. Yeah, I remember just looking over at the time and being oh my gosh, I didn't realize so much time had gone away. I need to get to sleep. Morning's going to be here soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the house, are you far down the hall from anybody?
So our house, all of us slept on the same level, but the house was kind of divided. When you walked into our home, there was a big staircase right in front of the front doors. And then there was a mezzanine level, and you could turn left, and that led into the master suite. And that was up a mini set of stairs, 3 steps up, and there was the master suite. Or you could go to the right, 3 steps up, and then there were 4 bedrooms over that way.
Okay.
And that's where all of the kids slept. And my sister and I, we were at the very front of the house, probably one of the highest points of the house. We were not on ground level. But yeah, I mean, like I had brothers that were their bedrooms. I mean, we didn't share walls with their bedrooms, but like they were in the same proximity.
So what we know is that Brian Mitchell, whom your parents had allowed to come do work on the house, probably got a good sense of the architecture of the house, the layout in the time that he probably had spent there.
Well, I mean, he had only been to my house one time and he was not allowed inside. He did I want to say some yard work maybe out in back, which my bedroom wasn't on the back of the house. And it was just one day that he came. And I mean, I remember that was back in like, I don't know, October maybe, end of September, October, like fall. It was in the fall time. And at the end of the time he spent working, I mean, he had come down to the front door and kind of stood in the doorway waiting to get paid. And I mean, I remember because I had been upstairs and it wasn't like all open, but you could look down from the top to the main level. Like it was quite a big, really tall room. And I remember just kind of peeking over the edge of the landing and seeing him standing there. But I mean, he didn't pay any particular attention to me. Like I never spoke to him. I never had any interaction with him. I mean, that was it. And then the next time I saw him was the night that he kidnapped me.
So do we know in retrospect what happened, or has he shared when he began to fixate on taking you? Was it that very day?
I mean, it was actually when he approached my mom. He approached my mom because he wanted to kidnap me. That was specifically why. And that was, I mean, so it was 9 months really before I was even kidnapped when he first saw me.
So when people talk about, oh, he just has all of these mental health issues, this is somebody who is very methodical. He planned out for quite some time. Was it in a parking lot that he saw your mother?
No, we were in downtown Salt Lake doing school clothes shopping. Like we were walking out of one department store and crossing the road to go to another department store.
The night of the evening where he took you, you've talked about feeling the knife kind of pressed up against your neck. And we know now that he came in through a window and he spoke to you and your sister heard it. How much of him could she see because it was dark in the night?
It was dark in the night. And then he thought she was asleep. And so she wasn't going to just pop her eyes wide open. So she was just trying to peek through like the bottom of her eyelashes without like crinkling her eyes, which I mean, if you tried that right now, that's still pretty hard to do. And so she saw it happen, but it's not like she could just see him super, super clearly.
Yeah.
And I mean, he had a knife. It was scary. She was 9 years old at the time. Yeah, I remember actually even when we, like as sisters sharing that room, thinking like, of course I'm going to sleep next to the door. If someone ever came in, it'd be my responsibility to protect my little sister. Never actually thinking that could ever play out.
I'm off to Hawaii soon, and I've been looking for great dresses, suits, bags, and sandals for my trip. You know who else needs stuff? My almost 16-year-old daughter. Now, where can I find all of those things in one place? Revolve. And I know that you love Revolve too. Over 1,200 brands and 100,000 styles from across high-end, emerging, and exclusive labels in fashion, beauty, and home goods. Consistently offering the latest and most sought-after trends in fashion from top brands like Lovers and Friends, Love Shack Fancy, Misa, and Zimmermann. I just ordered a pink Japanese dress, a gold clutch, gold sandals, and a monogram necklace, and I might even wear it to my niece's graduation too. Authentic, high-quality products, new arrivals daily, inclusive sizing, From last-minute getaways to party dressing and seasonal upgrades, Revolve has you covered with fast 2-day shipping and easy returns, all on them. And for a limited time, you can shop a curated selection of my favorite styles at revolve.com/Kate Casey and receive 15% off your first order with code Kate Casey. That's revolve.com/Kate Casey to shop my top picks and get 15% off your first order with code Kate Casey. The offer is only valid for a limited time, so do not miss out. There are so many things in life we just never get around to. Taking up that hobby, cleaning out the garage, the little things that don't really make huge differences in our lives. Yet, there's one thing that most of us have probably been neglecting that can have a huge impact on our family's future. It's life insurance. And with SelectQuote, getting covered with the right policy for you is easier and more affordable than you may think. SelectQuote is one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience, helping over 2 million customers find over $700 billion in coverage since 1985. If you have high blood pressure, no problem. If you have diabetes, that's fine too. And even if you have heart disease, SelectQuote partners with carriers that can cover those conditions and others. Head to SelectQuote.com and a licensed insurance agent will call you right away with the right policy for your life and your budget. SelectQuote, they shop and you save. So get the right life insurance for you for less at SelectQuote.com/realitylife. Go to SelectQuote.com/realitylife today and get started. That's SelectQuote.com/realitylife. As he winds through the backyard and into the hills, did you feel like I have to be acknowledging every space that I go? Like I'm almost like leaving my own breadcrumbs so I can get back home.
I felt pretty confident that I would be able to find my way home. There's tons of hiking trails up in that area, and I'd been on those trails before. This was not the first time going back into those mountains. I never went back as far as I was taken that night, but I knew even if he had just said, you can leave, which he never did, but if he had, I felt confident that I could make my way home. So I wasn't worried about remembering how to get home.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember actually my biggest fear was that I was missing my opportunity to escape.
Mm-hmm.
That somehow there would be a moment where I could run or make a break or something could happen, and that I was missing that. So if I was looking for anything, I was looking for my break.
Now, I remember reading about how he began to talk to you about these make-believe religious beliefs and giving you a name and talking about how you were going to be the second wife. Was that your first experience when you felt like you were with somebody who was unwell, unstable, or erratic? And do you feel like then you began to process, how do I diffuse this situation?
When he started saying those things, that the thought that he might be mentally unwell never crossed my mind. The thought that he wasn't in control of himself, that never, ever crossed my mind. Not once. The best way I can put it really is that he found the best way to manipulate people was through religion.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you say this is part of my religion,
what do people say?
Exactly. What do people say? Or it shuts them down, or they're just like, oh, well, okay, that's that. So, he just found it worked really well. And I think he'd been manipulating people that way for years and years and years. And I think then he decided he wanted to have a young girl to rape. And I just happened to be that young girl, but he was also married. And how could you possibly justify raping a young girl? First of all, ever, but also if you're married. It also placated his wife. He could turn to her and be like, you are God loves you. You are a queen in heaven. And, when you cry, God weeps for you. And, you have a throne next to God himself. And your throwing out shines everyone. I mean, he could tell her things that would make her feel special, and that then would allow him to do whatever he wanted pretty much. And anytime that she disagreed, he could then come back to her and be like, well, yes, like you are just so much further ahead spiritually than me. God understands my weaknesses, and you need to understand them too, because what I've been called to do, this burden I've been called to carry, is so heavy that God has allowed my weaknesses. I mean, he was a monster.
Mm-hmm. Then I think a lot about how you had said that he forced you to watch them. And thinking about a young girl who's about to leave 8th grade and to go into high school, who doesn't have a lot of insight into sexuality, let alone their own sexuality, and being forced to watch that. Is there a part of your brain that kind of disconnected and put yourself somewhere else?
I mean, it was, it was so hard because I didn't know. Like, I had been so protected, and like I was so innocent. I mean, even for a 14-year-old, I was a very, very innocent 14-year-old. And so to be thrust into that situation, I felt so uncomfortable. And obviously that sounds like an obvious answer, but even beyond like the kidnapping and everything that had happened, it just felt so inappropriate. It felt just, and it was. Mm-hmm. But even, I guess, on like I don't even know how to articulate it, but on a spiritual purity level, it felt so inappropriate. Felt like it was against everything that I'd ever been taught.
Mm-hmm. Now, as the days are going, can you hear anyone calling your name? Because you're still in the hills for a little bit. Can you hear anybody? Can you hear the helicopters? Do you have any sense that people are looking for you?
Yes. So there was one time that I did hear someone yelling my name. And there were times when there were helicopters and airplanes that flew very, very close overhead. But then also, he had stockpiled food up at this hidden camp where I was taken, but it didn't last forever. Mm-hmm. He eventually did have to go down to Salt Lake to go bring back more food. And there were times when he would bring back like missing posters of me or newspaper articles about the search, and he'd show them to me, and he would gloat. He'd gloat about it, and he'd be like, oh, everyone's looking for you, but no one will ever find you because I have you. And honestly, that really did seem to be the truth. For as close as people got to finding me, or as police came to rescuing me, every time they walked away or they turned around and didn't ask further questions. So it really did feel like he was smarter than the average person, and that he was more capable or a better liar than the average person because he got away with it for so long.
Now, you've said that he disappeared for hours at a time, presumably to try to make money or get alcohol or food or whatever it may be. And you're left alone with Wanda. Do you have conversations with her at all?
Yeah. Yes. For her in this case, she actually had a prior marriage where she had 6 children. Mm. And I think she had felt like neglected in her first marriage. I don't think it was a healthy relationship. But then I tend to wonder, was there ever a healthy relationship in her life?
Yeah.
And was she the common denominator? Mm-hmm. I don't know. But I think it was very important to her to feel like she was special and that she was unique and different. And there was something just extra important about her. So yeah, she would talk to me, and she would talk to me about her life, and she talked to me about their their, I guess, journey of getting to this point.
Mm-hmm.
She talked to me a lot. She always told me what an incredible musician she was, how talented she was, and what a sacrifice it was for her to give that up to come be here. But she had to, because God called them to do that.
So in the moments that you're in the quiet spaces with them, how did you figure out how to pay attention? How did you figure out how to navigate their volatility and diffuse situations to protect yourself?
I think it was watching them at first. It was just observing how they interacted and how they did fight and how they did argue. And they fought a lot. And so it was like I didn't have to wait a long time to see how they then resolved their conflict, because it was always happening. I just didn't have to wait very long. And I knew it was easy to see. I held no power in the situation. I held nothing. There was nothing I could do. And if I ever stood up against both of them, there was no way that I would ever come out on top. There was no way I would ever win a disagreement. There was no way I would ever be right. And so the best way was to basically choose a side that I would prefer, where they were already fighting, and support the side that I would prefer to win, which typically was Wanda, because she would say things like, well, I am a queen in heaven, and you should be lusting after me, not lusting after her. And yeah, of course, I'd way rather he keep his attentions on her than me. Is that any question? So and the whole thing that made it okay for him to have kidnapped me was, not only was I supposed to be his second wife, but I was supposed to be her, and to use the phrase they used all the time, I was supposed to be her handmaiden. So I was supposed to wait upon her, and I was kind of supposed to answer to her. So it kind of made it very easy to just
fit
be
into
on
that
her
line.
side.
Yeah.
And be I have to, I have to obey her, and not, that was, I guess, I wouldn't say it protected me a lot, but it worked sometimes.
Yeah. No, that was very clever. And then when you left the state, did you start to feel less confidence that you could find your way back home?
I knew where we were, and I had faith in my parents that they would come get me wherever I was. So, if I ever was freed, I felt like I could go to a police station and ask for help, and my parents would come get me.
Well, I thought this was brilliant of you. You figured out a way to convince them to go back to Utah. And that sort of begins the process of you eventually being found. How did you get them to go back to Utah?
Well, it was just using the same tactics that they always used.
Yeah.
So, it was being like, oh, you're right. I'm so wicked. God would never speak to me, but I know I'll speak to you. Please, I just have this feeling we're supposed to go back to Salt Lake. Could you please ask God if if we're supposed to return. And honestly, I didn't fully expect it to work quite as well as it did, because I mean, he could flip it on and off. Like he did. It's not like he was always in character 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, there were times that he wasn't. Most of the time he was. I think he'd been doing it for so long, it was easy just to stay in character. And like, you know, you can justify anything if you say God commanded you to do it. I think more than anything in that moment, like it was him just feeling like I accepted him. It was him feeling like he already did everything he wanted to me. Like if he wanted to rape me, he raped me. Like if he wanted me to go around naked all day, he forced me to go around naked all day. Like he already did what he wanted to do with me. But I think he felt like that was me accepting him like on a new mental level that I hadn't before. And so I think it was like a stroking of his ego. And he was like, oh, yes, it's happened. Like,
but you outthought him. And that's the great part of it. And despite the age that you were, I think he probably thought you were easy to manipulate.
He specifically said they had to choose girls. He had to choose girls that were young enough to still be malleable. I mean, he used that exact word. Like I knew there were big searches going on. I knew people were looking for me, but there was trepidation because, you know, I was raised so much. There was so much taboo around sex, and no one ever sat me down and was like, Elizabeth, there is a difference between, you know, loving intimacy, like loving sex, and rape and abuse. There's a difference. Nobody ever like took the time to explain that to me. So to me, I was like, it's the same thing. There's not a difference. It is the same thing. And I mean, it was a very like, there was a whole lot of purity culture that I was raised with. And so I knew that I had been raped. Like I wasn't a virgin anymore. Nobody would want me now. Once people found out what had happened to me, like they would know I'm dirty and they wouldn't want to have anything to do with me. So there was some fear on how other people would react. But I had like enough, I'm going to use the word knowledge, that my parents loved me, that was enough. Like even if nobody else did, that was enough. That would be worth surviving for. They would accept me. They'd still love me. That wouldn't change. And so I knew I had at least them to come back to.
Looking for a new, beautiful, durable, and sustainably made rug at an accessible price? You've got to check out Revival Rugs. I just swapped out my son's rug. I got an 8x10 in sweatshirt. It is so soft on your feet. And if you're a parent like me, you're going to want to check out their popular line of washable rugs because they have the same high quality look and feel as a traditional rug. If your kids or your pets get your rug dirty, you can just pop it in the washing machine and it comes out fresh and clean. And I love that. Plus, they're a sustainable company. They use eco-friendly materials, including wool, cotton, recycled denim, and recycled polyester. It's a brand you can feel good about, and they've got affordable prices so your wallet can feel good too. Visit revivalrugs.com/realitylife and use the code KateCasey20 for 20% off your first order. That's revivalrugs.com/realitylife, code KateCasey20. One more time, revivalrugs.com/realitylife with code KateCasey20 to save 20% off your order. If you were to look in my tote bag, you would find my essentials: sunblock for my fair skin, about 14 lipsticks, hair elastics, my phone, and Liquid IV. My goal this year has been to keep up my hydration, and Liquid IV is a must-have hydration made easy. True to fruit flavors that keep you hydrated, and you can find all your favorite hydration multiplier flavors on their website, from lemon lime to pina colada, or you can choose from their line of sugar-free flavors like raspberry lemonade, white peach, and rainbow sherbet. 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink, 8 essential vitamins and nutrients, And they're always non-GMO, vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free, and soy-free. So you too can break the mold and own your own ritual. Just 1 stick and 16 ounce of water hydrates better than water alone. So ready up for a long day with extraordinary hydration from Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use the code Kate Casey at checkout. That's 20% off your first order with the code Kate Casey at liquidiv.com. I keep thinking about how you said earlier, like, I have these brothers and they get to do all these opportunities and I'm sitting there sewing and they didn't see my strength. And it's that you're this young girl and you're in this improbable situation. And it seems to be there's that layer of you, that survivorship that's like, these two have no idea how strong I am. I'm getting out of here. And they don't see it. It's pretty spectacular if you look back in retrospect. Don't you think, especially now that you have kids of your own?
I mean, yeah, I think we're probably all of us are stronger than we think we are.
Mm-hmm.
I think we are all more capable than what we think we are. Like, I think we're all more than what we think we are. I think we have probably a pretty limited vision of ourselves, of who we are. And, I mean, everyone always says, like, you're your own worst critic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that probably is true. And so for me, I just thought, I do remember thinking, I'm going to survive. I'm going to do whatever it takes. And like, it's okay if other people don't understand why I did things. I know why I did things. And it doesn't matter. I'm going to do it if it means that I live another day.
Another great thing about this story and revisiting it so often as time goes on is that I thought about your rescue and how at the time it was suggested that you were a victim of like Stockholm syndrome, because by the time that someone recognized you and you go to a police station, you're sort of reticent to identify yourself. And now understanding you've been taken from your home, it's 9 months of complete terror. And the way in which those officers spoke to you, which was astoundingly harsh, was the reason you were still sort of closed up. On top of the fact you're innately an introvert, type personality, and you're waiting for your father or your mother to show up. But the way in which they spoke to you makes so much sense to me now, all these years later, why you reacted that way.
Well, and I mean, I didn't know any police officers prior to being kidnapped. The only interaction I had with them was back when the DARE officer came to my elementary school and was like, don't do drugs and don't drink. Yeah. That was as much interaction I had with police officers. And so there were so many that came so close, not just officers, but individuals who came so close to finding me, rescuing me, but they never had. And so it just felt like I didn't know what other people were capable of, but I absolutely knew what my captors were capable of. Mm-hmm. And when they threatened my life, when they threatened my family's life, I felt like that was a responsibility that I had to take, very seriously, was to protect them. Because if they went after and killed my family, what was the point of surviving? Especially when I was also kind of living under the belief that nobody else except my family would accept me back.
Right. It's so important to note that too, because I feel like a lot of victims of assault feel that way too. Like, if I'm being honest about what happened to me, I'm going to be looked at a different way. And I can imagine that was compounded with the fact that of your age and
absolutely.
And how people would look at you being such a young girl. If you were to look back now at the moment in which you were rescued, do you look at it differently now at the age that you are than you did maybe 10 years ago?
I always understood why I acted the way I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like I had reason. I understand that was not clear to anybody else.
Yeah.
But I knew why I acted the way I did. And it was all very fear-based and they were like very abrasive and aggressive. And it was scary. And for as much as me wanting to prove myself that I was tough or strong as a kid, like I was also shy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my mentality was more like people might underestimate me. Like, because I'm not the loudest or I'm not the visible leader, but like when the cards are down, I'm still going to be here. Like, I'm still going to survive. Like, don't underestimate the quiet people, I guess, is what I'm saying. Or like, don't just think because someone's really loud and popular or pushy or bossy that like they actually know what they're doing, or like that they're actually going to lead everyone out through this, or I don't know. So looking back on it now, like, yeah, I've got a lot of empathy for myself, and yeah, I understand why I did what I did. And I mean, I feel like I have a little bit more insight now as to why they acted the way they did. And I suppose to some degree I can understand.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I mean, it's kind of like I understand why they did what they did, but also it's me. Like, why would you do that to me? But then they also don't know me.
Right. When you saw your family, I'm assuming it was just intense joy. How long did it take for you to feel like, after all of that, that you were settled in a way that there was a little bit of normalcy to your life?
I mean, as soon as we got home, like I was ready to go back to school. I was ready to just like go back to being me. I think I was ready much quicker than any of my family was.
Yeah. As a parent, I could imagine your parents were overly concerned and trying to be patient with you. Why do you think it was so important for you to get back to school right away?
I mean, I just remember one time, Brian Mitchell, he'd brought back a newspaper and it had a picture of a girl that I went to junior high with on the front page that he'd brought back. And it was a picture of her kicking a soccer ball, like it was about the high school sports teams. And I just remember feeling like I was being left behind and that they were all moving on with their life. And I didn't want to be left behind. And I didn't want to have to stay back a year in school. And yeah. And also I had felt, I was about to go into high school. I'd been really excited about going to high school. It felt like it was going to be this new, exciting, like really grown-up experience. And that had been taken from me. And so I wanted to have that.
When you look back at that period of time, who were the real heroes for you? Obviously, besides your own self.
My parents, my sister, my grandpa, my family. They were like my extended family.
Yeah.
They did a lot.
How has it felt feeling like the rest of the world feels like they're a part of your story? Because I'm assuming strangers come up to you and say, I thought about you, I prayed for you. How does that feel? At times, does it feel intrusive? Like, this has been a painful period of my life.
I think that was probably the biggest adjustment for me coming home, was having so many people recognize me, where I went from being no one to all of a sudden having everyone recognize me. But it was also kind of funny in a way, because sometimes I'd be like with my mom at the grocery store, and someone would come up to my mom and start talking to my mom about me, and I was standing right there.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know if they just didn't think that was me, or if they thought it was my sister. Like, I don't know what they were thinking, but I was legitimately standing right there. And my mom would be like, yeah, like, she's great. Like, you could ask her, or like, she's right here. And they just like keep talking to my mom like I wasn't there. There were a lot of kind of funny instances like that. There have been times where, I don't ever want to be rude. But there have been like times where it's been just not a great moment for that to happen in.
Yeah.
Where I am today, I mean, I don't talk about things that I'm not comfortable talking about. I mean, I feel extremely passionate about sexual violence, and just like the sheer volume is just overwhelming, and someone needs to be talking about it. And it's just, that was something that I struggled a lot with. That was that was one of the worst parts about being kidnapped, was the sexual abuse that I experienced and the shame that I felt from it. And then just realizing how many other survivors are out there, but yet I didn't know anyone. After I was rescued, I still didn't know anyone else who was openly talking about being raped or abused. Like, I didn't know of any other survivors. So I did feel a lot of shame around that, even though I knew it wasn't my fault. But I couldn't help it. I couldn't control that part of what I felt. And so then when I started into this field, I just felt like there is still so much shame and misunderstanding and darkness around this whole topic, that I just felt like this was something I had to talk about, something that I had to be a voice for, and that I should talk about my own experience openly, because there are so many others who have experienced the same thing, but was never told it wasn't their fault, or somehow feel culpable for what happened to them. I mean, even just the other day, I interviewed someone who said, I know it's not my fault, but I was so naive, or I should have been smarter. I should have done this. And yeah, sure, we can all be like more aware of our situation, and yes, there are precautions we can take. But first of all, it's not appropriate or okay for anyone to ever sexually abuse someone. It's never going to be the victim's fault. It doesn't matter if you're running down the street naked. It doesn't make it okay for someone else to rape you or touch you. And I just, when I hear other people say, other victims and survivors say, I should have done this or I should have done that, it was not your fault. You still feel something at fault, clearly. Otherwise, you wouldn't say that. And at the end of the day, the fault lies solely with the perpetrator.
If there's one thing that you wish to accomplish with this foundation, what is the most important thing?
I want to change the culture around sexual violence. I want it to be something that shame is not attached to. And I want it to be something that people aren't scared to talk about.
If you look back at all the people you've met, the experiences that you've had, answer this one question. What do you know to be true?
Everyone has a story. And it doesn't matter if it's the loss of a loved one, an illness, a loss of a job, a breakup, something even trivial. Pain is pain.
Where can people find out more information about your foundation?
So we have our website, elizabethsmartfoundation.org. Please follow us on social media. Just Elizabeth Smart Foundation. It'll pop right up, and we're on. We have our podcast, Smart Talks. It's available on all the streaming platforms. And yes, please learn more. Please educate yourselves. Please have conversations in your own homes and with your children. And there are age-appropriate ways to speak to children, starting out from very young, all the way through their life. And it shouldn't be a one-time conversation. And maybe more than anything else, if you're a parent, I think the most important gift you can give your child is to make sure they know that they're loved unconditionally. And then the second most important one is good communication.
Well, I want you to know I really admire you and I respect the work that you do.
Thank you so much.
The amazing Kate Casey.
I want to thank my incredible guest, Elizabeth Smart. I want to remind you to make sure that you click subscribe and to leave a 5-star review. I would love for you to join the Facebook group Reality Life with Kate Casey and also subscribe to my What to Watch list of everything to watch in unscripted TV. Go to katecasey.substack.com. And you can also get bonus episodes by going to patreon.com/KateCasey and follow me on social media. My Instagram is @KateCaseyCA, TikTok it's Kate Casey, and Twitter and Threads and Blue Sky at @KateCasey.
In the early hours of December 4th, 2024, CEO Brian Thompson stepped out onto the streets of Midtown Manhattan.
This assailant pulls out a weapon and starts firing at him.
We're talking about the CEO of the biggest private health insurance corporation in the world.
And the suspect,
he has been identified as Luigi Nicholas Mangione,
became one of the most divisive figures in modern criminal history.
It was targeted, premeditated, and meant to sow terror.
I'm Jesse Weber, host of Luigi, produced by Law and Crime and Twist. This is more than a true crime investigation. We explore a uniquely American moment that could change the country forever.
He's awoken the people to a true issue.
Finally, maybe this would lead rich and powerful people to acknowledge the barbaric nature of our healthcare system.
Listen to Law and Crime's Luigi exclusively on Wondery Plus. You can join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts.